you in a lot of ways, but let's talk about why you put the hidden camera out there for weeks to record
So
EBW.
the
Why was
reason
that?
the reason why is because, like I said, I've always been an XCW guy through and through. Right? I've never
Even
been
when the thoughts of you joining EBW?
even with the thought like, okay, so once Mitchell had turned his back on me, I had every right in my power to screw over the whole system of EBW. I'm not gonna blame Mitchell for the whole thing, but it was a crucial part of why I did what I did. It was
You were blindsided by what Mitchell did, right?
I was blindsided by it, and of course, if you're gonna get blindsided, what are you gonna do? You're gonna retaliate, right? What's the best way to retaliate? You're gonna take the whole thing down by the floor to the top. So I went bottom first. I may not have. Mitchell might have got his day in the sun over me, but I'm holding the whole entire sun over him, right? So,
Were you ever worried about could this backfire? Could you get caught? Because EBW is still they outnumber you, and when you started recording them, that was when EBW was still running roughshod a few months ago. We think about it. Mitchell joins the group, and they've got the tag titles. Brady and James beat the real ones to win the titles. Miano's got the world title, and
of
it
course,
seems like, and remember, we had the elimination match where every single person of XCW was eliminated. Remember that? I mean, so
yeah,
right now, EBW, when you start recording them,
yeah,
I mean, they're untouchable.
yeah,
Untouchable.
yeah. Like you said, at XCW, we lost the Allegiance match. EBW was on the top, and of course, you worry about, oh, am I going to get caught red-handed doing this? But if you're sneaky enough and you have a degree in other things other than psychology, right? You can get
Oh, we know that
you
from
can be a
last
little more
college
sneaky.
history, yes.
So, I may have a psychology degree, from Southern Hampshire Institute of Technology, but there's some other things I might have went to school for that people don't know about, right? Like computers and programming and hacking and other stuff. So, with that being said, why not take a shot and see what happens with a hidden camera somewhere in the locker room for certain
No,
people?
you definitely did that. There's no question
Sure.
about
That's
that.
what I'm saying. Why not? Why not take that shot?
Well, I mean, obviously, it looks like, you were a genius. You pulled something off, and EBW, little by little now, I mean, they're in shambles. I mean, you've got the title. I mean, they were better off with Jackson, and they had a target on him. And I mean, you basically what you did to them. I mean, it's going to be certainly fascinating to see how they try to respond in this road to SummerMania. But I mean, it seems to me like EBW right now is
It's
almost the equivalent of, like, I don't know, the NWO in 2002. They're about to, it seems like, implode, and they're imploding this time within.
Yeah, and it's honestly a beautiful sight to see if you're a true blooded XCW fan and you're like, what? Why is EBW even here if they're not? They don't even hold their own title. So, well, I mean,
I guess you could have argued, though, that for a time they still had the world and the tag title.
yeah, at one point they did,
They had the
but
hardcore title as well, right? They had the hardcore world and the tag.
yeah, I believe they did, yeah. But over the course of time, the outliers of Brogan and Fletch, they took those away.
Against Extreme King, correct.
Yep.
Miano's obviously Miano's lost the EBW and the world title. How about Diaz over the space?
Miano Diaz is going through it right now, but rightfully so, because once you're at the top, like they always say, it's always a long way back down. And trust me,
And
I
he's
know
going.
that
I mean,
long road
Tommy
down.
Merriman. I mean, they just. I mean, I have to imagine that that's going to continue to go into the road to SummerMania, and then you got this guy, Brady Branson. I have to get your thoughts on him before I certainly come back to Chris Jones, because James Cerebral is always going to be EBW. EBW could make up it. James Cerebral is still going to wear the EBW shirt.
Yeah.
I say it all the time on Sportswire. James Cerebral is going to his grave with an EBW shirt. His blood is EBW. So I got the James Cerebral story, but Brady Branson right now is pointing a lot of fingers there. And, I know you're watching it from afar, and What do you make of all that? Because that's another guy, Brady Branson, that to me, I think might be the biggest example of the downfall there. He held the world title when the group reformed. He was as dominant as anybody has ever seen. He
Mm-hmm.
loses the world title at ACT, couldn't get it back. Okay, he gets the tag titles, but he loses them. And now it seems like he and Chris Jones, he's been pointing fingers at Chris Jones for weeks now. And I got to ask you, what's your thoughts on Brady Branson right now?
Brady Branson, he's always a tough competitor. He's always, but I don't really know how to answer that question, Tom, because only Brady knows what Brady's doing. If he really believes that Chris Jones is in
But
the,
did he see the same things you did?
oh, everybody saw the same thing I did. They're
Jake
all
Cerebral didn't. Miano Diaz didn't.
no, but I think Brady's starting to brighten up a little bit and realize that EBW is not the faction that they once were back in the day. Back in the day, they were dominant. Yes, they had their dominant moments. This go around,
They're, to me,
but
NWO 2002 right now. I mean, they're
yeah, right
basically
now
about
they're
to
they're a
implode.
shell of what they once were. And then looking at EBW's run this portion versus the last time EBW was relevant back in, I think it was like 2013,
I
2014.
was about to say the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it was somewhere back around there. They were dominant everywhere. They held, I believe, every title at one point. They held the world, they held the tag, they held the
International, I think, as well.
yeah, they held all of them, I do believe, at one point. And we had to, as XCW, like we had to figure out how to take EBW down.
You needed Corey Lee, if I recall correctly.
It was Corey Lee and uh, um, Emily Moore that restarted that match back then to have Corey Lee and
But EBW also, I mean, letting Tommy Merriman in the group. I mean, that anybody could have saw that one
yeah,
coming, right?
Tommy
I had
Merriman was
Tommy here.
EBW.
Yeah, I mean, I had Tommy here, but Tommy Merriman, he's out for himself.
Yeah,
Tommy Merriman ain't a group guy.
no,
Tommy Merriman only cares for Tommy Merriman. I mean,
yeah.
that's got to also be bad judgment on the man that you technically eliminated out there at Extreme King, Chris Jones. I mean, a man that you also won the world title from that other time you were a champion. I mean, Chris Jones is, again, one of the greatest that has ever stepped foot in the backyard in the underground wrestling circuit. He's in the Hall of Fame, but I mean, the judgment there for a long-time nemesis of his to allow him into the group and not think that he would turn on that group.
All right,
What do you think? What do you think of that?
that's a bold move. I don't know if I would have put. I don't know if I would have asked one of my biggest enemies that's taken everything from me and had the story that they have together, or versus each other, I should say, not together, but I wouldn't have asked somebody like that to join my faction. Not at all. I would have seen that turn coming a mile away.
So why do you think that Chris Jones allowed Tommy the Man Merriman into EBW? I mean,
because you're always gonna do you're always gonna do what you think is best for business, and Tommy's
even if it's an arch enemy like Tommy Merriman, who's known to be out for himself, and he used EBW to get the quickest way possible back to the world title. That's what he did, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. And for Tommy, of course he's going to make that move because it's going to put him back on the top. So why not get back to the top, then do your turn like he did, and make Chris stand there looking stupid? Like, I would have done the same thing. I would have done whatever I had to do to get back on top, and then I would have made the decision either from what was best for my career or what was best in that moment. And Tommy did what was best for him, and rightfully so.
I mean, I have to wonder, though. I mean, you obviously shed light on this, and Mitchell joins. And did you ever try to tell Mitchell Maverick that this is what could happen? Did you ever, when you guys were tag partners, did you ever tell him about this? I mean, he had his side of the story when he was here 2 months ago as to why he joined the group. But you're the veteran. You've been here before. I mean, you've kind of been Team XCW, as you stated. Did you ever try to warn Mitchell?
No.
Why
Mitchell,
not?
because Mitchell's going to make Mitchell's decisions. I'm not out here trying to tell people how to live their life, how to make their career, what it is. Only thing I tried to ever do for Mitchell was be the best tag partner I could for him and to get his career in an upright position, because he was coming back from being gone for so long. I was trying to help knock some of that ring rust off, trying to get him back to where I thought Mitchell can be. No, I did not think he was going to turn his back on me like he did. But since he did, that gave me every right to what I.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because, again, EBW, you did talk about that you've got a target, but EBW is the weakest it's ever been. Are you worried about this target right now? I mean, we saw what happened at Extreme King. I'm gonna put the Extreme King itself up. I'm gonna show it in a second, but I mean, it just seems like there's no unity in EBW right now. You concerned about being this target on your back?
Um, I'm gonna no, because the reason I'm not concerned about that is, number one, like you said, there's no unity, right? They're all out to point the fingers and to put blame on everybody else, but whoever's actually responsible for the downfall of what they're doing. So no, because if I keep my head straight and doing what I'm doing now and holding this target firmly on my back and keeping my eyes peeled and watching my back and everything, I know I've beat Brady before. I've beat Chris Jones obviously before. I've beaten James Cerebral. It may not have been in an actual XW show on like an actual like big show, but I've done it in like ground zeros and vortexes and stuff like that. So I have the wins over all of those guys in EBW right now. And of course, with Mitchell being there, I was his tag partner, so I already know his tendencies. I'm not I'm not worried about it.
Let me ask you then this question in terms of what does it mean to you to be the EBW world champion right now? What does that mean to you?
It means a lot to me because I'm back in the main event portion of the card. I went from being first, second, third on the card to now I'm
Pretty
down.
much.
I'm back up into the 6 and 7, 8s. Either semi
You're in
main.
the upper mid card to semi
Yeah, I'm
main event. Yep.
up in the semi to main event. So for that much, it means a lot to me for that reason. But I'm also trying to give the EBW title um, some backbone too. So that way, if the title does, if I can end up becoming XCW champion, that EBW and the XCW mean just as much to where they can unify, and it can become an undisputed championship.
You talked about the unification and you talked about that. I mean, the road to Summermania also goes through Julian Void Jacobs, technically, because you hold that title. Obviously, we're going to find out
Mm-hmm.
starting this week what is the future for that EBW championship and who comes forward with that. But what do you then make of that unification process? What do you, as you're about to come out here in the Extreme King, I mean, what do you have a stake in? Does it matter to you in terms of who would, let's say, hold the XCW world title? I mean, obviously, we know it's Hunter Halkin, who, again, what an amazing performance. I mean, you and
Yeah.
him obviously were the guys that above and beyond did the most in Extreme King. I think Brogan O'Shea well as well. But I think what you and Hunter Halkin did is, certainly, quite a performance from the both of you guys. But what do you make of that? Eric Mason wins his world title for the first time in his career to open up the show. Hunter Halkin wins the Extreme King. We saw what Corey Lee put him through. They've obviously have such a personal feud. You thought your friendship with Mitchell Maverick was certainly sidetracked. I mean, think about what happened with Halkin and Mason. You're going to stay on top as EBW champ. If we were going to go through this unification process, do you have a preference on who would walk away at Summermania between Halkin and Mason?
Oh boy. Honestly, I'd like it to be Eric Mason. I don't know if that's the case, but I would love it to be Eric Mason because me and him had a match. Uh, it was long. He's he's one of the guys that's easy to work with, and I would just love to rub it in Corey's. I took out his disciple. Now I am the current savior of XW.
But Halkin, wouldn't he be an easier opponent?
What's that?
Wouldn't Hunter Halkin be an easier opponent based on the size advantage you would have?
Um, for size, yeah, but for speed, no. because he could run circles around me. And he's a skinny kid and he's very athletic. So
Aware of that. Okay.
It's just one of those things where brute versus speed versus brute. Sometimes, a lot of times, speed comes out.
Talk about the support of the fans and how they got really behind you in the last few weeks. The fans really in the Galaxy got behind you, where I kind of compared you to those comeback teams. I think about the Seattle Mariners in 1995. It was refused to lose, and the fans rallied behind them. The fans rallied behind you these last few weeks. The Mets in baseball was you got to believe, and the fans rallied behind them. And we see you dump Evan Phoenix, and you're about to get a couple of eliminations. But talk about how the fans in the Galaxy played a role in you coming back as a world champion and completing one of the greatest comebacks in the backyard and the underground.
Well, of course, the fans are everything. Without the fans, there is no XW. There's no show to put on.
Your fans were really behind you in this.
Oh yeah, my fans were. That's what I was getting to. Like, my fans were great. Like, I've had so much support from everybody, and even people in the locker room. It's just, hey, we need this from you, and I'm like, I'm not gonna let anybody. I'm gonna do my damnedest to not let anybody down. Whether it's the people that support me in the locker room or the people that support me out in the crowd. Like, they've been behind me since day one, and I've got to give them what they expect.
What does it mean to you now to be a Grand Slam winner?
Well, I had an interview with Fletch back 4 or 5 months ago for a free time interview on XW.
I saw it. I did see it. I saw it.
And with that, it's one of those things like, what haven't I done that I can do all over again?
He dubbed Chris Jones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Chris Jones, I know he's going to be back on Sportzwire. He's actually messaged me in the last few weeks, and he said he'll be back. But, boy, that's one. He's going to have to live down that one. But go ahead, continue.
What was I saying, Tom?
We were talking about in terms of being a Grand Slam winner.
Oh, yeah, in terms of Grand Slam
time interview with Fletch.
One of those, it's just one of those things, like, what else, like, what have I had, the only thing I have not won in XW is I have not won Extreme King. So that is the one. Technically I've held every belt, so I am a Grand Slammer, but I have not won every match stiff, whether it's been Extreme King or Elimination Chamber. I've never won either one of those matches. So I want to get to a point to where I can focus on, I've won every title, I've held every title. It means a lot, but I also want to try to get some other matches won that I haven't won yet.
But obviously right now, unifying the world title is a big deal right now.
Absolutely it is. That is a main goal. That is a main goal. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that's a question because, again, Summer Mania, we don't know who you're facing, but we know it's locked in, Halkin and Mason. So you have to continue to do your part.
Yep.
To make sure that you're not a fluke. And you have to figure out what happens with Halkin and Mason, and that process would have to play out after Summer Mania where you could really make history. Right.
And I can't drop the ball here, because if I drop the ball, then like you said, it's another fluke run. And I'm not trying to have 2 fluke runs on my resume. I'm not doing that. So I've got to do what I got to do. Whatever's going to happen with the XCW Championship is going to happen. So I'm going to have to either figure out how to, maybe one day face Eric or face Hunter, depending on who comes out, and see what's going to happen with that. And I'll have to, work my way to that.
So what's the pressure like now then going into this week? Well, I mean, I know you were world champ before, but that's years ago. So what's the pressure you feel is going to be like now? You got EBW, which is, I'm sure, going to certainly still want to deal with you because, you obviously were recording them for weeks. And on top of that, you eliminate Chris Jones, and all he talks about is targets. And I mean, I would have to think that means you're a target because he talked about targets on this platform. I guess that makes you a target, but then Brady's kind of involved. So, like, how are you going to deal with this new pressure, this newfound pressure that you have now being back on top?
Well, with pressure being on top, it's.
You haven't been used to this in a long time, champ. This is
I know. I haven't been a world champ in a long time, but the pressure is different this time because I've earned it through hard work and ethics and morals.
You were the rising tide that lifted you a boat. Absolutely.
I did not have to use a briefcase. So the pressure is always there, whether you win it from a briefcase or you win it through hard work and dedication, right? But the thing about it is it's constant pressure. It's not one of those things where it eases up and then it's, comes back real hard. It's a constant hard pressure. So with that, if it's a hard pressure, you've got to be ready at every second. It's like the minute militia back in the day. As soon as they're called, they got to fight, right? That's where I'm at with the EBW championship.
It reminds me if you're a basketball fan and you're a sixth man and coach, you don't start the game, but you've got actually the most difficult role because you have to come out there, coach calls you in. It could be at any given moment, and you're expected to perform and to perform at a level higher than some of your teammates, and you're kind of in that position. So I think that that's obviously something that you're going to have to figure out and, deal with and such as a champion. You're going to have to be able to, deal with this newfound pressure.
Yeah. And the way I look at it, and this is going to, going back to basketball, I'm like the TJ McConnell for the Pacers of XCW. I've got to be ready, and I've got to.
You'll chuckle. By the way, I was actually because I'm in New York, but I'm actually not a Knicks fan because I'm sort of leaning toward the Nets. I was kind of rooting for the Pacers actually over.
I was obviously.
Well, you're
Indiana, but
you are, but I'm not really a Knicks fan, so you probably chuckle when you hear that. So.
Yeah, I thought the Pacers had a better shot, but that's neither here nor there. This next,
I did too. I didn't think they get swept by Boston, but then again, Boston handled Dallas pretty easily. This might have been Boston's year.
That surprised me. I was not ready for that.
Let me ask you, though, this question as we're here, of course, with Julian Voigt-Jacobs, the EBW champion, and also he was the man behind all the secret footage that was recorded by EBW these past several weeks. He is also the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. We have another 20 or 25 more minutes with the champion, and we're getting ready on the road to Summer Mania. And stay tuned here on Sportswire Radio for coverage throughout the next several weeks for some of your favorite XCW superstars to get you ready on that road to Summer Mania. Let me ask you this question. I don't know if you've thought about this, and this has been quite a last few days. Win your first world title in 7 years. Become a Grand Slam winner. You're the guy that officially reveals. You put the hidden camera footage out there so EBW secretly recorded, and now you're a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer, which makes you a two-time Hall of Famer. Where does this rank up in your career? Is this the greatest week of your career? Where does this rank up in terms of your storied career?
Oh, it's definitely up there. I mean, I've not had this kind of a stretch in ever. I've not had this kind of mic drop boom level of things that I've ever done. So
I still think what you did, leaking the footage out saying you were the guy behind the EBW thing in a way is to me more the mic drop than you beating Law, because I thought you had a chance against Law. I thought you could win that match. You had momentum going into it. I agree with you. You were coming into it with some wins under your belt. You were the number one contender. I agree on that.
Yeah.
But to have that bravado to say, yeah, it was me behind the footage of EBW, I think that to me was more ballsy than anything else, you said or did right now.
Right. And it's all about the timing, right? So I knew once I won that triple threat, for the number one contendership, I knew that I had Jackson one-on-one. And I know that my skill set is just a tick better than Jackson in ring.
You had a size advantage. You had a veteran in terms of your experience advantage over him. You had the ability in terms of coming into with more momentum than him. I think I
also had I had two better wheels than he had. He was on a broken wheel, and I knew that there was some stuff that I could.
You're more of a student when it comes to studying your opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some things going there, but to me, the saying, "Yeah, I was the guy that put the hidden cameras out and recorded
Yeah.
EBW," that to me was more
Yeah.
mic drop.
Of course, and that all. I'm not going to say it all leads to Summer Mania, but what I'm going to say is it builds one hell of a story for Summer Mania.
Oh,
So,
listen, right now, let's think about it. I mean, you got this whole situation with Halkin and Mason, and then right there is you're the EBW champ, and you got this whole thing with EBW and utter chaos. And what happens with you in that? I mean, we know that Jones and Branson, I mean, they're basically again fighting.
yeah.
Cerebral's sitting there like this as usual. Miyano now is occupied with Tommy Merriman. They were the two of the last world champions. Mitchell Maverick is kind of in a way in a worse spot than when he was with you. And then there's Luke Blaze with his glasses on and his sport jacket, kind of like throwing his hands up. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Even as an outsider, like I mean, I knew the mic drop was going to be, obviously the bombshell, but like, I didn't expect it to self implode like it has.
I think it's a real sudden downturn. I mean, we talked about it 2 months ago at Allegiance. Every single person in XCW was eliminated. Yeah. That's where we were.
Mm-hmm. That's where we were. And that was, what, 3 months ago? 2 months ago?
Not even 2 months ago. Dude, it was 2 months ago.
And, it takes one guy. It just takes one guy.
Do you feel you were the guy then that's leading the charge right now for XCW? I mean,
yeah. When it comes to the XCW versus DBW and creating that downfall for that, yes.
But, I mean, because let's think about it though. The Outliers, okay, yeah, the Outliers are there with you. I mean, Parsley and Slater are kind of in this, I don't know, like limbo.
Mm-hmm.
Halkin, okay, maybe Halkin, but Halkin, his state of mind is got to be totally all over the place because of Mason.
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy Merriman's only out for Tommy Merriman, so maybe in a way you are the guy to lead the charge for XCW.
Yeah, for right now, and it's always it's like in every sport, right? The next man up. And right now, I'm
the sixth man. We're both basketball fans. Yeah. I mean, I played basketball. I covered it. You're the sixth man that all of a sudden came out there, and you provided some real sparks for XCW.
And now I'm on the court starting, right? So I've got to lead the charge. I've got to be that guy.
You definitely are that guy. I think right now you've shown, a big deal that you are. And before we get into a few other things, I want to put it up on the screen one more time. If you haven't yet, go out there and follow us now on TikTok, because Sportswire Radio is on TikTok. And I actually put our video up of you coming on here. Some other videos out there. So if you haven't yet got a chance and you're here right now on Sportswire Radio, in addition to being on sportswireradio.org, our internet radio station, we're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our great content, whether it's music, whether it's wrestling shows, whether it's sports and talk. And these shows get simulcasted here. For whatever reason, you don't want to see my long hair and mutton chops, you probably want to see the champ, but you may not want to see me. You can listen to us there also. But in addition to those things, we're also on TikTok now, because I've decided that people want to see us on TikTok, Instagram. I've got a lot of followers out there, Facebook as well. I'm considered to be according to Jack Delta, a influencer in the world of backyard underground wrestling. I'm not quite sure if that's accurate, but if you want to hit the like button and follow for us on TikTok now, you can do that. And also XCW, so many links. You want to buy some merchandise, you want to go to the XCW Shop Zone store, you can do that here. I've actually got the link for that right in front of me, because I always want to make sure we support those that support us here on Sportswire Radio. So make sure if you want to buy some merchandise, you want to buy some Julian Void Jacobs merchandise, definitely not going to buy some EBW merchandise. I can promise you that you'll definitely want to make sure that you go out there and support all things related to XCW, and make sure you do everything possible to go out and make sure that you are on the road to Summer Mania. And that road to Summer Mania pretty much leads, it seems to me, through Julian Void Jacobs. And he is here live right now. He is also the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And he is also now a 2-time Hall of Famer. Of course, he's an XCW Hall of Famer. And he is also now a Sportswire Radio Hall of Famer. He is the 82nd member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. And if you want to actually go to the Shop Zone store, I actually have it right here in front of me before I come into a few final thoughts, and it's right there. There you go. There you go. So if you want to go and get some merchandise, don't buy the Mitchell Maverick one because Julian will be very upset. He will be very upset if you buy some of the merchandise. But there's a lot of other shirts here. You want to get them. There's almost pretty much everybody you can here possible. You want to just buy a simple XCW shirt, you can do that as well. Whatever it is, go out and support, especially Julian Void Jacobs right there. You got that shirt. All you got to do is get it. That's it. There it is. Southern Hampshire Institute. But let me ask you a few other questions before we get to closing thoughts. What is your goals here now for the rest of the year, and especially into Summer Mania? It's simple, but still, what are your goals?
Yeah, simple, right? I want to keep holding the EBW title. I want to eventually, like we've already talked about before, I want to work and try to unify the XCW and the EBW title into one undisputed championship. And if that's possible, I want to be that guy. I don't want to drop the ball. I want to keep this ball rolling. I want to keep my momentum going. I've got a lot of momentum on my side right now. I've got a huge target on my back, and I'm ready for the fight.
What would it mean to you to unify, if the moment comes up, to unify the XCW and the EBW titles and to be the unified World Heavyweight Champion?
It'd mean a lot, right? Because it would be the first time that's ever happened. There's never been a unified double world title in XCW history. So if I could do that, I would be the first person to ever do it, and I would create a whole brand new belt that anybody could come and fight me for. And that would mean the world to me.
I'm going to ask you something, and I'm not sure how people are going to take this. You might chuckle at what I'm about to say. Everybody's talking about right now this documentary called WCW. I'm sure you've heard about it, right? And what would you think if I were to tell you, I don't know, 1 year from now, 2 years from now, wherever it might be, if we were to have a documentary, who killed EBW? And the guy who killed EBW was Julian Void Jacobs. What would you say to that? I knew you'd laugh. See, I knew you because I was thinking about this all day. I'm like, how is he going to react? Because think about it, right? Everybody's talking about right now who killed WCW, and they were kind of going back and forth with it. Vince Russo's name came up. Eric Bischoff's name came up with it. The merger from AOL to Time Warner. It was Brad Siegel and the wrestlers themselves. Hogan came up. But if you think about EBW right now, I mean, if we were to have this documentary, right? Let's say it's a year from now, right? Let's say if the way things are going and EBW stays in this shambles and it's permanently broken, right?
Yeah.
And who killed EBW?
It'd be me.
It's Julian Void Jacobs, right? Would it have to be? I mean, it's a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, no, it would definitely be me because I mean, the obviously the secret recordings have all started this whole process, and then with those recordings, you saw the. Oh, well, let's not tell, this or that, or, hey, let's make sure that this guy's not out here for this show, or, blah, blah, blah. It's like, where's the unification? I thought you guys were all a solid, oh my goodness, all a solid team in solidarity, but clearly it's not.
Oh, I think there's no question.
Yeah, clearly not.
It's not. I mean, but that's why I would say, who killed EBW? Julian Void Jacobs, with all the turn of events, would have to be you. I mean, it's not. Can't say it's Fletch right now. Can't say it's Corey Lee from years ago. Can't say it's anybody else. I mean, I guess maybe you could say Tommy Merriman. Maybe you could say Brady Branson, Chris Jones. Maybe you could throw those names out there, Luke Blaze, for a lack of leadership. But really, it's you.
Yeah,
you're the guy that right now, if it's all after what we saw at Extreme King, it all ends after this. You're the guy that really killed EBW.
Yeah, as of right now, yeah, for sure. And anything can happen from here on out, but the way it's going right now, I don't see EBW turning it around. Especially if I'm in charge of it, it's not turning around.
Now, we have less than 8 weeks to Summer Mania. Obviously, we're going to see a lot of footage. Again, XCW's websites. Go out there and check out everything XCW. I'll put the YouTube channel up one more time where you can rewatch Extreme King. And again, or pushing toward 1,000 views. But before I get to a few other things, do you have an idea who do you think you'd want to face at SummerMania for the EBW title?
In a perfect world,
does Law get a rematch with you, or it's what do you think? What do you think?
In a perfect world, right? You would, me being XCW pumping through my veins, through and through. Why not the guy who bleeds EBW of James Cerebral versus XCW Void for SummerMania? Why not? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but why not?
Interesting.
I've been in XCW I've been Team XCW every single year. And every year that EBW's ever been around, it's always been James Cerebral.
And what better way to put the nail in the coffin of EBW by beating James Cerebral, right?
At SummerMania on the biggest stage under the biggest lights. Why not?
But that will James Cerebral be able to make up his own mind?
That's where it's at.
He doesn't seem to be able to do that.
No, it's all. Luke Blaze is very strategic on how he runs his faction and his team and whatever you want to call it. So I don't know who I'll get for SummerMania, but I'll be ready.
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Brady Branson and doesn't seem like he wants anybody involved. I mean, I just think that's. Does Brady Branson want to run what's left of EBW? Do you think that's a part of it?
They very well could be. I don't. I think Brady is in it for Brady. Just like Tommy was in it for Tommy. I think Brady thought that this was going to be a rocket ship to the moon, and right now it's not. Obviously, it's not. It hasn't been for the last.
They've hit some turbulent times, and they need to figure out a way to.
They got to figure out how to
land the plane.
Yeah.
It reminds me of. I tell this story to people sometimes as to why I haven't flown. I was a kid. My parents, the only time I went on a vacation on an airplane, we went to Florida. And coming back to New York, we were landing to LaGuardia at the time. And the plane, which from Florida to New York is supposed to be like a 2.5-hour plane ride, if that. It took like 2.5 hours, literally from where we were about to land. It was just circling for 2.5 hours. Right. And that was to the point was basically I thought that the plane was going to crash and, probably wouldn't be speaking to me. But the point is, in a way, it's the same situation that EBW is in right now. EBW right now has got all this turbulence that I don't know if they can safely land the plane. And it could be, like I've said throughout the show tonight, that it could be the end. That's why I think the moral of the story is you might have been the guy that finally in the heart of EBW. Maybe what better way to do that permanently at SummerMania by doing that with James Cerebral and beating him,
Yeah. Yep, it's only time can tell what can happen. But like I said before, any opponent I get, I'll be ready for. Whether it's an EBW opponent, whether it's an EBW opponent, I'll be ready.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm excited about it. You should be as well. XCW is now officially on the road to SummerMania. It's the biggest show of the year for XCW, and XCW coverage has returned here on Sportswire Radio. We had a wonderful conversation with, I guess, a guy that's on your team in Brogan O'Shea and the Outliers. Of course, he is one half of the tag team champions, a fellow Grand Slam winner like yourself. And he was talking about his road to SummerMania. And obviously, he's working with Fletch, and we'll see how that goes. But certainly, you have the EBW championship, and it was very similar to how when Brogan won the title from Miano Diaz months ago, and a very emotional victory, emotional win for you as well. And also, if you want to go hit that sub button and relive Extreme King and get ready for that road to SummerMania, you have the XCW links here on YouTube, especially over 1,500 subscribers, and Extreme King already is closing in on 500 views. So make sure you go out there and watch it, rewatch it, relive that moment of Julian Void Jacobs becoming a Grand Slam winner, winning his first world championship in 7 years, and being the guy that it's revealed that he was the one that was putting the hidden cameras to record EBW. And when we see EBW is right now, you're going to see him in action, XCW TV. That's all the links. They're also below is where you can go hit the sub button, like and follow XCW. And also, I hope that everybody goes out there and follows us here on Sportswire Radio. And also, we're now on TikTok at Sportswire Radio. All right, so obviously, You're the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. I want to ask you one more question before closing thoughts. What do you want to say to everybody here tonight? You're now in the Hall of Fame. You're back on top. Is there any other things that you want to address to the public before we sign off tonight?
No, well, I just want to thank everybody that's been behind me for so long, that's struggled with me to watch me fall and, work my way back to the top. I'm finally back up here. And if it wasn't for the people behind me, I wouldn't be able to do it. So with that, I want to say thanks to everybody that supported me and everybody that continues to support XW, buying the merch, buying, the shirts, the stuff. And, I'm pretty sure
That's how it runs. Listen, you got to have the merchandise. People don't realize sometimes that these things are very expensive. They're very timely. So, we know that XCW guys put a lot into it, and, go out and buy a shirt. Go out there and hit a like button, hit a sub button, 1,000+ subscribers. That helps XCW in a small way. And there's a lot that can be done out there, whether it's just hitting a following, liking, subscribing, buying that merchandise, and just whatever it is. Everybody's on the same team. All wrestling matters. XCW talent is also a part of Summer Bash, which takes place next weekend, July 5th to July 7th. We've got a slew of XCW stars that are going to be there. We've got XCW coverage throughout the next several weeks on Sportswire Radio. A lot of great people are coming back to Sportswire. Very excited about that. In addition to Justin Parson, he's always here, but there's other people coming here as well. I'm really excited about that, and I want to share those details. In fact, Remy Ravage is going to be one of those people, and you've brought more of your fans out there, so I could see that you're getting ready to play with the pets, so that means it's time to obviously get to some closing thoughts. So it's been a great honor, champ, and I'm so happy you came back here. What an emotional last 4 days for you. I could obviously see the dog is happy. You've definitely got the support of the dog fans, but obviously I want to turn it over to you. I want to give you any closing thoughts and anything else you want to plug, share, or say, and the floor is absolutely yours.
Yeah, just like we've said before, we the link for the merch is on the Sportswire Radio website. It's also on the XCW website. You can Facebook us at XCW Shelbyville, and it's on there as well. The link to the actual XCW website's on there.
Absolutely.
So everything that you need for XCW, anything, you have the XCW All Access on Instagram or on YouTube, and then you have all of us on Instagram, X, and everywhere. So
yeah, XCW's on everything, TikTok even. You guys, I just joined TikTok.
We have a TikTok channel, so we're everywhere. So we're doing stuff all the time. We're always recording and shooting something. So.
Oh my God, XCW, it's 24-hour coverage. I mean, there's
sure.
there's only really the only promotion that covers 24 hours worth of footage is XCW, and you've got the XCW website there, which gives you all the great links: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, X is out there, TikTok. If you want to see upcoming events, that's going to be Backfire, the Road to Summer Mania, all leads through the XCW website. So please go out there and support XCW. Anything we can do. And also, I have one more comment from a guest coming on here in 2 weeks, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. So we've attracted fans from Atlanta. And that's my friend, Mr. Michael Blackheart. Not the other one you saw in Extreme King, but he says, great show tonight, and indeed, I'm seeing future opponents for the list of Blackheart. So there you go. You never know. You're getting other people out there in the world, and they might want to test their skills in XCW. You never know. We've seen that before. We saw Scott BW at Extreme King. Holden Holloway, by the way, who's the ALW champion, has now been making his name in XCW. He was here last night, by the way. So I did have XCW coverage last night because I had Holden Holloway for about 20 minutes, and we talked about Extreme King, and he had a shot at the Outliers. Big man Cam is always here. He's another guy who's actually bigger than you, but thankfully it took like 7 guys to get rid of him, and you actually got a couple of eliminations that you don't have to worry about that. But yes, XCW coverage is on the way. And Michael Blackheart, who's going to be here 2 weeks from tonight, is obviously setting his sights on Shelbyville, Indiana. So is everybody else, and I can't wait for more XCW coverage here on Sportswire Radio, where it's always all wrestling matters. And champ, congratulations. Thank you so much for being here. Really a great time to have you. I think it's the right time. Brogan was here. I think it's a good time to be back with Sportswire and XCW. We had a great conversation with Brogan. A lot of people were happy about that. You being here after an emotional last few days and to kind of carry that momentum of Extreme King and get us ready to the road to SummerMania. And congratulations on being a Grand Slam winner. Congratulations on winning your first world title in 7 years. Congratulations for being the guy, I guess you might want to say, that is putting EBW to a Who Killed EBW show on XCW All Access. And also, but most importantly for us, congratulations on becoming the newest member of the Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame. You are definitely the definition of a rising tide that will lift all boats. And we'll see you here hopefully soon on the road to SummerMania.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back on. I appreciate everything, Tom.
I appreciate it too. This was a great conversation. It feels very good to have all the XCW guys back here. And that was Julian Void Jacobs. He is the EBW champion of the world, as I stated, won his first world title in 7 years. And my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice, figuratively and literally, where all wrestling matters. And if you were on Sportswire Radio.org, I'm going to be back here in about 40 minutes or so. I'm going to be here with the coach, Chris Craven. He's got an announcement. He's got something to say. And if you're out there for the first time, we're on TikTok right now, so hit the sub button for us on TikTok, hit the follow. We're also on Instagram at the Sports Report 2021, Facebook at Sportswire Radio at Tom Bryce. I'm also on X at Thomas Bryce 2017 and Sportswire Radio.org, our internet radio station, where we can see a slew of great shows, and this show gets simulcasted each and every time. And also thank you everybody to the Promo Wrestling Federation YouTube page who joined in, the Pride Wrestling Federation YouTube page who joined in. If you're out there on YouTube, hit the sub button for those, and I really appreciate your time and support. Thank you, everybody, and I'll see everyone in a little while. And Champ, congratulations. We are here on the #1 global radio station that is Sportswire Radio, where all wrestling matters. I'll see everybody in about 40 minutes.